So we're on another infrastructure thing, which is a resolution to release the bidding. Our engineers provided us with the documents 9-10 days ago, something like that. Teresa, does that make sense? This is for the Stony Brook culvert replacement. If you're watching at home, we are entertaining a resolution to go out to bid, to solicit firms to replace the culvert, the box culvert. We are hoping to have that work completed no later than November of 2019, and so our engineers have been working diligently and have obtained a permit from DEC. And so these materials have been provided to you for your consideration tonight. Our attorney obviously has reviewed the documents as well and provided us with a resolution. I've given you some hard copies of some of the drawings as well. And there's a 3-month, just so you know, there's a 3-month lead time on getting the culvert manufactured, is what we understand through our engineers. So that's why, as usual, here we are, rushing to try and accomplish something,
And I can't read
diligently.
these plans, they're so
They're
small.
so small. I think, did we send
You
you
have
a
a full
digital
size, don't
copy?
you?
Yeah, we have many sets. I have,
Teresa,
They gave me a set of plans,
a full set of these
yes,
that a human can read.
yes.
Yes, I have an extra
Just
set
says to
too,
highlight
Harry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am concerned that the footing is adequate in that poor soil over there. I want to see for myself.
Well, I guess their comment was they made the footing wider.
Wider, yeah. That's what I thought I could see here, but they didn't make it deeper. Maybe. Tell you later.
Okay, this is resolution number, Sue, I'm sorry.
54.
54, thank you. Dated May 22nd, it's authorizing the solicitation of public bids for Stony Brook Road culvert replacement. Whereas Crawford and Associates has requested the town proceed with advertising for requests for bids for the culvert replacement in the town. The project constitutes a type 2 action as defined under seeker. It's determined not to have a significant impact on the environment. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby authorize and direct the solicitation of bids for the project substantially in accordance with the specific specifications. Do you think I need more sleep? Yes, I do. Specifications on file with the town clerk, with bids to be received by 2 p.m. on June 17th, 2019. Or such later time and date is determined by the supervisor upon consultation with the project engineer, provided that such publication shall appear not less than 5 days prior to the date set for bid opening, and I so move. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Again, as a reminder, we expect Stony Brook Road to be closed, certainly through October, if not sometime into November, until that culvert is replaced. Okay, we are on our 4th item, which is a resolution determining LWRP consistency. Perhaps you've seen, and I'll put up for the folks at home. If you are a user of the Tivoli Bays, you know that there was a kayak launch there until recently. And DEC proposes to revitalize that kayak launch. No, it does not look like that. It would be nice to kayak there as well.
Is the old dock there right now, or is there nothing there?
I believe it is not there.
It's not there.
Yeah.
So did the EC take it down, or what happened to it? They took it out.
They took it out, yeah. It is in need of replacement. And let's see if technology works, but
There was a new floating dock there. It was only a couple of years old.
In the bays?
Yeah, they took that out too.
Okay.
I thought this was just an improvement in addition to that, from what I had looked at.
That it was an improvement.
An improvement to that, what was there.
What was originally there, yeah.
Yeah.
They proposed some changes.
Yeah, there's photographs of what's there.
Yeah, but they're dated in 2017. And
Is
then
that
Yes,
idea with the
That's what
floating?
used to be there.
The floating one caused damage, they said, so they want to make a fixed one now, I
Yeah.
understand.
Well, it does not look like the casting is working again. Let's
We have a
try.
full design right here.
No, you have it, I would just like the folks at home to be able to see it.
Yeah.
What phone?
Steve's at home.
here.
Yeah.
Good to see you come in.
Well, suffice it to say, it's a different design.
Mhm.
Perhaps they believe it to be a better design.
It looks like a better design to me.
Yeah.
It's improved, and it is an improvement. I'll say that much.
I know that it's been reviewed by some of the folks up in Tivoli. Emily Major was very excited about the design of it. Well, it does not look like technology wants to cooperate today. That's unfortunate. We'll put it on the website. In fact, I think it already is on the website. Tivoli Bays boat launch. Okay, so let's go through, if we could, please, our form. Development policies. Consistent with growth of tourism, sighting.
Will you run through this? I used to do a lot of them at the planning board.
Please do.
Okay.
Christine, be nice.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
the idea of the local waterfront revitalization plans is that there's 44 policies that the town has developed that come from the state. We decide which ones work for us, how we're going to deal with them, in a nutshell. So each time we do a project that's in the LWRP, we have to do this consistency form to determine whether the project is consistent with our LWRP. So it's broken into sections, development policies, fish and wildlife policies, flooding and erosion hazards, general policies, public access, recreation, scenic, quality, ag lands, energy and ice management, water and air resources, and I think that's the last one, right. And then the idea is to review the policies that are underneath each of those headings, and we have to determine whether they don't apply, whether the action is consistent, or whether it's not consistent. So we are looking at a draft document that essentially says that every policy either is not applicable in this particular case, or the project is consistent with the policies. There's some statements that you can see for comments, for instance, that the project would promote tourism by improving public access to Tivoli Bays at one of the most popular and heavily used canoe and kayak launches on the Hudson River. So it's an important access point. That it would provide minimal disturbance to coastal fish and wildlife habitats, and that disturbance would be limited to the actual installation and how much square footage, 82 square feet of disturbance. No hazardous waste or other projects. Erosion and sediment control practices will be put in place to minimize excavation, disturbance due to excavation or dredging. There's two existing parking lots that can be used. It's, as we mentioned earlier, it's replacing, well, it says an existing dock, but we know that dock has been taken out. it won't impact any scenic qualities because you can't see it from anywhere off of the property. And no impacts to waters of the US or tidal wetlands other than the installation of the 6-inch by 6-inch posts that are used to put it in. So that's it in a nutshell.
So I was able to, through the miracles of technology,
I got it to work.
get it to work. And this is sort of the drawing, and I can show you. Steve, if you'd be kind enough to pan over to the screen. So my understanding is this extends further out and past. sort
The
of a
existing
stream.
dock is shown on here, and that
Yeah,
is here.
yeah.
And there's a floating dock attached to that, that when more than a few people are on it, it sinks.
Oh, yeah.
Having done that, so this is a significant improvement on that aspect of it.
So here it shows anchors to hold that floating dock. The lower pier
Mhm.
and then the upper pier. So I think this is what's been extended,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Okay. And then this extends past the vegetation edge. That's what's listed in the description.
That's the part that's shown in gray in case you can't see at home, the cursor.
Mm-hmm. And there's the floating dock indication. So what it looks like, the image, well, this is just showing some supports for the decking. This is very dark, unfortunately. Let me see if I can lighten it up just a little bit. No, not so much. What that says on the screen is that the downslope view to upper deck platform where a new launch ramp will run. The stream is in the distance. The ramp will extend beyond the vegetation, ending in midstream. And this is sort of the mucky soil that currently exists there. And so I think that's what's being avoided. Yep, okay. Very good, so that, we do have resolution number 55, determining that it's consistent with our LWRP. That's the Tivoli Bays Wildlife Management Area Access Enhancement Project. And I so move.
Second?
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
And I just want to note that,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
for the board, you're in the process of updating your
Mhm.
LWRP. And one of the important things about this is that you don't just review LWRP, use the LWRP to review projects of your own, but you're using this to review a project being undertaken by another agency, a state agency, within your area, and having the opportunity to comment and raise issues with them that you might have on a project. So it's just an example of why updating that LWRP is important to you, to make sure that it expresses your current views about what issues in that waterfront area are important to you.
Right.
Okay.
And
We
the
got it
town,
covered.
So you're
and the
aware.
town also uses it for private projects that occur with
Right, right.
there too, right?
Great.
But this doesn't come up very often, so just context, so.
Okay,
We got
true.
it.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we're at board reports and committee reports.
So, just before we do that, now that the camera is here, maybe we should just,
Oh, yes, well, you want to
Recap.
go back, dial
Well,
back? Let's go
just
dial back.
mention back to say that we had the presentation from Mark Coviello from the Dutchess County Office of Veteran Affairs. And he has left materials with us that we are gonna put out front in the town hall in our information area. And indicated that the division, or the Office of Veterans Affairs, Dutchess County Office of Veterans Affairs, provides different types of services and information than veterans might get through the federal VA system or even through the VFW or the American Legion. And he encouraged veterans to get in touch with his office to talk about those different options, to see if they have resources that they can link them to that they might not otherwise be aware of. And while his office does work with VFWs and American Legions throughout the county, he said there's 15,000 veterans in Dutchess County, and there's not 15,000 associated with VFW and American Legion. So they're trying to find other ways to reach out to the veterans in the county to make sure that they can get the services and medical care and other connections that they need and are entitled to through their service. And also ask the town board to consider designating a town board member to be a liaison to him in his office. He's going to ask all the towns in Dutchess County to do that so that he can have a direct connection and a better flow of information back and forth between his office and the towns. Is that a good summary?
It's a very good summary, and very well done. Thank you very much. Christine, also, since the camera did arrive late this evening, Steve will forgive you, but just to remind folks, we had a public hearing this evening on the acquisition of the parcels formerly known as St. Sylvia's in Tivoli. We've extended that public hearing to June 26th, 7:35. Again, inviting and hoping that a week prior to that, any individuals or organizations that would like to consider partnering with the town of Red Hook and the village of Tivoli in a public-private partnership, submit something in writing for consideration so that the board can take that up, and also we can share those ideas with, in particular, the residents of the village of Tivoli for their input as well. We want to remind you that there is a continuation of a public hearing at the village hall of the joint village and town community solar project that's been extended to June 6th at 7 p.m.
Meaning the village of Red Hook in this
Village
case.
of Red Hook, yeah. And so that public hearing is at 7 p.m. June 6th, the continuation of that. And there's a food drive that is happening. I'll go back to the announcements file. June 11th from 3 to 7 at the Red Hook Community Center, 59 5th Street. It's for the families that need assistance with food security during the summertime. And so they have a list of suggested non-perishable food items, everything from cereal to macaroni and cheese to peanut butter and rice and beans and all the things that you might imagine do well on shelves. And so that's just again a repeat of announcements. Anything else, Sarah?
I was gonna say, since we have a camera,
Yeah.
we could say a big thank you to all the community members and organizations that came out to help with our playground
Yeah.
build, which has now concluded since our last meeting. There's still some work to be done at the playground site that will continue over the summer, finishing touches here and there, but the equipment is open. And we just, I don't know if we've like formally, just said that it's open and we hope people are enjoying it. We can already see lots of kids enjoying it, so it's wonderful to have seen everybody come out and help.
Yeah,
So,
we had
thank you again.
probably 100, by the time the last day was over, maybe 170, 175
Yeah, I don't know, a lot.
volunteers. A lot of volunteers. We can't thank you enough. And fortunately, we didn't have to provide Advil because a lot of folks reported that it was rewarding and it was also, they felt it the next day. So we thank you so much. The kids love it. I was afraid that after all that work, they would be bored with it in 10 minutes and we'd go, uh-oh.
No, the only bad things I've been telling people is that now you can't get your kids to leave when you go. So you go thinking like, oh, we'll spend, 45 minutes and then move on to our
that's
next
great.
thing, and they just won't
That's great.
quit. So, but it's a good problem to have. So.
Yeah.
I was over there yesterday afternoon after the kids were let out from school.
Yeah.
And it was happy mayhem. It's the only way I can describe it.
Oh, well, that's great. And thanks, of course, to the Red Hook Plays group who organized and came up with plans and the whole 9 yards. It's really, it's such a great benefit, so.
While we're talking about the park, didn't I see an email come through about the grant
Yeah, I think I announced that, Fran, at a previous thing.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we're going to, as a reminder, you'll see especially later this summer, you'll see more disruption at the park. The expression is no pain, no gain. Well, we'll be experiencing some pain. So we're gonna have 4 pickleball courts. We're going to be retrofitting a good portion of the north side of the park, including the snack bar, to make it ADA accessible, breaking up that concrete, removing the fencing, which isn't really accessible to all, and replacing it with new fencing, obviously new field, converted field, new lights.
This was for the bathrooms, I thought.
And bathrooms, yep, the
Yeah.
bathroom is something that, is
We
gonna be
do a lot
worked
of
on
work
as well.
on upgrading the bathrooms.
Yes.
Yeah, and they need it.
And they need it, and they need it. And then a new basketball court, all of that's happening this year. So we appreciate your patience. I'm sure there'll be lots of signs and lots of construction fencing, but hopefully we'll be very happy at the end of that road. Okay, let's jump into board reports, shall we? See if we can do these pretty quickly and get out of here and enjoy the lovely weather. All right, highway department. Would you like to do the highway department report,
Well,
Teresa? We could just
really
read
don't
it.
have anything to
Okay.
say, except that we did do the oil and stone on Rockefeller Lane today. It went
Okay.
smoothly.
Oh, good.
There will be loose stone there for probably about a week. So after the holiday weekend, we'll be out there sweeping it up, and that will conclude that portion of the road construction.
Okay, great. Thank you, all right. Planning board report, Christine, would you like to report that?
Sure, for April, the planning board met twice. They had a public hearing and granted conditional approval to the project that is now known as Traditions at Red Hook, formerly the Hoffman TND Traditional Neighborhood Development, which is located on, by the theater, Lyceum Theater. And so there was an application to amend the site plan and subdivision to add a few things like a community swimming pool and relocate some of the dwelling types. There's a mix of dwelling types within that project. And some things like revisions to drainage, grading, pavement materials, and outdoor lighting fixtures. The board also commenced or continued to review the Red Hook Land Corporation project, a site plan at 5 Old Farm Road. It's still in the sketch plan phase, and this is the property that's actually where you turn from Route 9 onto Old Farm Road, and it burned. There was the fire there a while ago, so that's where that is. And right across the street from that, on the other side of Old Farm Road, lots of activity happening down there. There was a discussion about a minor subdivision by Rugi's Red Hook Holding, which is the building right on the corner. And they are proposing a minor subdivision to adjust, there's a number of parcels they own there, and to adjust the amounts of lots, of acres on the lots. And they also reviewed proposed law 3, reviews the proposed law which amends local law 3 of 2018 and confirmed it is consistent with the town's LWRP, which we just did one here for a different project.
Great. We have a ZBA monthly report, Bill?
The ZBA met at its regular scheduled date on May 8th of this year, and it considered an application for 2 area variances by one parcel owner. Basically had to do with a storage shed that the parcel owner had on his property dating from 1977, a 10 by 10 storage shed. Tree fell on it in December of 2018, and he wanted to replace it with a larger storage shed, but it didn't fit at that particular location. So therefore the application for the ZBA to grant an area variance and variance to reduce the required size setback. So the ZBA considered the application, and it's scheduled a public hearing for June 12th, 2019, which is the next scheduled ZBA meeting. The deadline for submissions, in case anybody wants to submit anything for that ZBA public hearing, is Wednesday, June 5th at noon.
Thank you very much, Bill. Christine, we're back to you with the assessor's office.
Okay, the tentative roll was published on May 1st, and there is a link for that on the town's website. Grievance Day will be held on May 28th at the town hall from 4 to 6 p.m. and then 6:30 to 8 p.m. Our assessor has been having regular meetings with residents throughout the month of May to discuss their current assessments. There's a total of 14 applications combined as of May 22nd. In April, there were 8 sales in the town of Red Hook. For the village of Tivoli, only 1. In the village of Red Hook, there were 2. It says the number could change because they could receive them after the tentative roll. New construction has increased to 7 new single-family homes, and that will, of course, go up in 2020 because of the development we just talked about on Old Farm Road near the Lacing Theater. And that's that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Harry, would you like to report on building and zoning?
Okay. Bring it to the top here. It was, as always, a busy month. There were 36 permits issued, 54 inspections of, that means looking at work in progress. COs issued were certificates of occupancy were 36. There were 19 complaints, primarily done by mail, and the revenue for the month was just under $10,000.
Great. Thank you very much, Harry. Bill, we're back to you with the police report.
Well, the police in April of this year had a total of 83 incidents that were reported and which they handled. They made an arrest in on 7 occasions during the period. And the total tickets issued in April of 2019 was 42.
Great, thank you very much, Bill. We always like to give you the good news, but we also have to give you the bad news. And we have had some reports of some car break-in in town, so we want to let you know that so that you take the necessary precautions. And of course, if anything happens, we ask that you notify the Red Hook Police, of which we contract with, so that we can document that activity and do what we can to ensure it doesn't happen again. All right, Harry, we have purchasing.
Purchasing report, this month the purchases amounted to $31,000 and change. The largest was for road salt, already buying for next winter. We're looking to get a bid on the parking lot to seal it and put new striping on it. The playground equipment, as I believe most of the town knows, has been thoroughly installed and is in good use. 2 of our copiers' lease expired on them, so we have to work on replacing them. And the speed trailer, that's the trailer that measures your speed as you're driving down the road, was purchased this month and has been put into use.
Thank you, Harry. Before we leave you, Harry, we have some water to talk about.
Okay. Well, as usual, all the tests were well within parameters for the month, so there's no issue with the quality or volume of the water in the water district. There are a few odds and ends of maintenance work that is being done as is normal, and but it's been taken care of, and everything is in good order from the wells to the pipes. And we did have 2 days earlier in May of hydrant flushing, and so if you noted dirty water those couple of days, that was just part of the process.
Right. And I think we had that notification of the flushing on the website. Some folks were not aware of it, so again, we would encourage you to go to redhook.org, go to the Notify Me page, and to sign on for those topics that you're interested in. We can email you and text you.
It's right at the top.
It's right at the top, sort of right of center, and log on so you can find out. Keep up to date. Okay, thank you very much, Harry. Bill, your task force report?
Well, the task force at weekly meetings in April and May continue to discuss with the Green Plan, the planner for the town of Red Hook, a draft of an annual operating permit and to discuss other regulations proposed for short-term rentals and Airbnbs in the town of Red Hook, and that continues.
Right. Okay. Well, it looks like Sarah and I at least get one towards the end here. Senior Services Committee met at the Community Center on May 3rd. That was their special meeting to plan for their Give a Child a Summer Meal Food Drive program. And we've already talked about that one. That's taking place Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. So that's all they have to report. And Sarah, last but not least, the Tree Preservation Commission.
Okay, so this is the tree commission report for May. I'm just looking at this because they literally met last night, so they got this in quick.
Okay.
I saw them. So they've been following up on their Arbor Day celebration, thanking the organizations that helped, including Red Hook Rotary and Village Pizza. They've been actively working with our town hall staff to update their webpage, so thank you to them for doing that. If all the committees would do that, we would have a lively website. They have been putting Tree City 13-year stickers on all of the appropriate signs. And they worked with Ken Migliarelli to cut down several ailanthus trees, which are like an invasive tree on Pitcher Lane. And then they've been taking care of the Devereaux planting site and the Pitcher Lane planting sites, and already starting to plan for their fall 2019 planting.
Great. Thank you very much, Sarah. Well, that concludes that portion of the meeting. We do have a couple of pieces of correspondence, and they are of the same nature. So we have two applications. These are return requests for block parties. One is by Nancy Titus for the area on Old Post Road North, the St. John's Reformed Church area. And she would like to have their block party on June 9th, 11 to 3 p.m. But have the area closed from 10 to 4 to include setup and cleanup. John Lawfer has proposed, again, block party for his neck of the woods. And that date is, why is that not here?
August 3rd.
August 3rd.
There it is, August 3rd, 19. And that's either going to be from 11 to 3, that 4-hour period, or 3 to 7, they're not sure yet. And I think that they run it by Teresa, and we're all good there. Yep.
Yeah, they're both people who had these
Previously
parties
done.
last year, so
the
they're following.
Trout Boulevard.
Yeah, on Trout Boulevard, thank you, yes.
And
But
so
as we
they're,
get closer, we'll remind people, sorry, go ahead.
no, they're familiar with the procedure and,
Right, we had good experience last time.
yeah.
We like these events that bring our neighborhoods and our communities together. So, are we okay? Motion to approve both of those requests?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. We're gonna take some public comment, if there is any, before I make a motion to go into attorney-client this evening. Is there any public comment? No comment. Okay, thank you very much,
Please let me know.
everyone, for joining us this evening.
Well done with this?
Yep.
Thank you, Steve.